Hello, it's author Tonya Duncan Ellis of the Sophie Washington series with another episode of my author interview show, Write This, where I interview authors and learn about their author journeys. And today I am really thrilled because I am welcoming on an author of an adventure story, Mayonn Paaswee-Valchev, who has a new book that's coming out in a couple weeks. And I'm really thrilled because I had a chance to go to my mailbox this morning, and guess what was in my box? Ta-da! A copy of Mayonn's book that was sent to me by my agent. And we are represented by the same literary agent, and she had sent me a welcome gift that included a copy of Mayonn's new book. And it's so pretty. Look at this, check this cover out. I can't wait to read it, and it's really going to be next on my list. But without further ado, I want to welcome her on. So let me send her an invite. I see her there. I see that you've joined me. Let's get it on here. And we will begin. Okay. So I've invited Mayonn on, and we're going to begin the interview in just a few minutes. And I'm happy to see a lot of you on. We've got some exciting shows planned for the next weeks, and I'm looking forward to learning from a few of the authors that we'll be having come on. Okay, hey.
Hi.
Hey, how are you doing?
Tonya, how are you?
Fine. So you got on easily,
I
didn't you?
got on, yes. I can see you. You can see me, apparently, so that's good.
Yes, and I got a copy of your book this morning. I was checking my mail.
Okay.
And it is so beautiful. I know you're so proud.
Thank you so much. I'm excited. I'm thrilled. It's really a dream come true. So I'm living my dream right now in this moment. So I'm very excited.
Yeah, I can't wait to read it. So it's going to be fun to dip into that story. But can you share a little bit about yourself? Tell us where you're from and where you stay now, and a little bit about your journey to becoming an author, how you became a writer.
Okay, well, how much time do we have?
Well, we're going to be on for about a half an hour. So.
Okay. So I'll tell the short version of my story. But I am originally from Liberia. I was born there, and then 6 months after the war started, we fled to Cote d'Ivoire, and we lived there for almost a year. And then after that, we immigrated to the Netherlands and lived there for 6 years, and then came to the United States. And I now live in Georgia, in South Metro Atlanta, with my family. So that's just my background. That's a little bit about me. And as far as my journey here, I think it goes way back. I have to go all the way back to about, I think it was 2009 when I left my job as a training manager. I was working in the corporate sector, and I left that job. I didn't feel fulfilled, and so I said I've always wanted to work with children, so let me go back to school and get my degree in teaching. So I went to grad school, and in order to gain experience working with children, I took a job working as a toddler teacher in a preschool. And I would sit my toddlers down, and I would tell them stories, just like how I heard stories growing up in Liberia. And Tonya, if you have any experience with toddlers, they don't sit still. They just get up and wander. Their self-control is limited, right? But when I would sit them down and tell them the stories, they would sit, they would listen, they wouldn't get up. And I said, there's something powerful about this. And a year later, I got a different job within the same preschool, working as an assistant pre-K teacher. And I did the same thing. I sat my students down, and I would tell them stories, just like I heard stories growing up in Liberia. And a similar thing happened. They just sat still and they listened, even the ones that were my busybodies. And I could see their minds wandering and just imagining, and I could see that they were being stimulated and they were engaged. And so I said, here we go again. So all of those things are very powerful for me to see. Stories have always touched me, but to see it, other people being impacted by it was very powerful experience for me. And so I graduated and I earned a job as a first grade teacher. And I wanted to expose my students to different cultures from around the world. Having lived in different countries myself, that was an invaluable experience for me. When I lived in Holland for some time, I attended an international school. I had friends from Japan, I had friends from China, I had friends from America. At some point, we lived in a refugee camp. I had friends from Bosnia, I had friends from Yugoslavia, I had friends from Somalia. And having friends from all over the world was just an invaluable experience for me. It made me very curious about other ways of living, other ways of other cultures. And so I wanted to expose my students to that, Tonya, but I didn't find any book set or any chapter book set in Africa. And so I said, well, I'll write one. And so that's how it all got started. So I decided to write a picture book set in Africa, and I did. And I pitched it to one agent, and he said no. I didn't really connect with the story. And so I thought, okay, one agent said no, I'll just put it down and move on with my life. And that's what I did. I ended up getting a job as a curriculum writer, and so I started writing curriculum content for an early childhood education company. And while I did that, I wrote a 50,000 word novel. And I pitched that to an agent at the Atlanta Writers Club. And the Atlanta Writers Club has a conference twice a year. So I went to the conference and I met the agent there and I pitched it. And she said, I like it. Send me the full manuscript. And by the way, this was not The Leopard Behind the Moon. This was a separate novel. And I pitched it, and she said, yes, I'm in the full manuscript. So I sent it to her, and then I never heard back from her. So I was like, oh my gosh, again, move on with my life. I didn't think to send it to a second agent. I just sent it to her. She didn't respond. I said, move on with my life. And that's what I did. But that experience gave me the courage to take that picture book, the one that I had written, and the agent said no, and turn it into a novel. And that's where The Leopard Behind the Moon got started. So that's a little bit about the journey. And of course, I went to the Atlanta Writers Conference again, and I met Sarah there, and I pitched a book to her, and thankfully she loved it. And she did follow up, and she asked for a full manuscript, and that's how my journey got started. And she ended up selling the book to Green Willow Books, and that's what landed me here today.
Well, that's amazing. And it sounds like with what you say about the stories you told the younger children, you might still try your hand at picture books, because it seemed like you got those kids settled down and they were really engaged in your story.
Yeah, there's something about oral storytelling, right? Where, I don't know, you allow the audience to participate with you, and you ask them questions. It's very engaging. And yeah, I think so. I think maybe one day I will write a picture book. In fact, at some point, I did publish one as just independently. I went on my own and I published it, and that was a picture book. So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
That sounds neat. Now, can you tell us a little bit about The Leopard Behind the Moon? What is the storyline?
Yeah, so it is a story about a 10-year-old boy named Isomo who is considered the most useless boy in his village. And Tonya, he's considered useless because he doesn't attend school as frequently as the other children. He doesn't help his mother with chores, and he just doesn't contribute to the village. And the reason Isomo doesn't do all of these things is because Isomo is grieving the loss of his father, who was killed by a leopard 3 years earlier. So he spends most of his time in the forest, sitting on a rock, grieving and daydreaming. And one day, while he is sitting on this rock, he sees the leopard believed to have killed his father. And so he goes and calls the hunters, and he tells them to come and capture the leopard. And they make fun of him, and they tell him to, go and keep the leopards company. You have nothing better to do anyway. So Izomo asks his two friends to help him come and capture this leopard, and his two friends are also outcasts in the village. And so the book is about their adventure to go and capture the leopard. And in order to do so, they break three important rules in the village. One being never ever open the magical door that protects us all. So it's about this adventure to capture the leopard, and they make some huge discoveries on their journey, but there are also some consequences. So it's a book about grief. It's a book about healing. It's a book about hope, and it is filled with some magical elements. So
Right.
that's what it's about.
This is really exciting, and I saw it had a
Thank
really
you.
great Kirkus review for the book too.
I
So
was so
that's
happy about that. Such kind words. And now and then I go back and I look at it and I'm like, are they talking about me? Me? Or is it somebody else? So yeah, that made me really happy, Tonya.
right. Now, do you have children of your own, or
I
how do they?
do. I
Okay.
have three, and two of my children, Alex and Andrew, they are twins, and I have actually been reading The Leopard Behind the Moon to them, and thankfully they enjoy it. And because I said, "Hey, you guys like this?" And they're like, "Yeah, Mom, we really like it." I said, "Well, are you just saying that because I'm your mom?" And I wrote, they're like, "No, we really like it." So I think right now, I think we're on maybe like chapter 8 or 10 or something, and so like this afternoon we'll read a little bit. So.
Oh,
Yeah, but
that's
I'm so thankful that they like it.
yeah. What if they didn't like it? What would you?
I don't know. I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, that's really good. So, do you have plans for any other novels or anything with these particular characters? Or
Well, I love these characters. Izomo, Chimama, and Muja. They are the main characters in the book. Um, I mean, at this point, you mean for these particular characters, or just something related to them,
right,
or
or will they have? I guess it depends. You may go on and write another book with them doing something else.
I mean,
You
that
know
would
how?
be great, Tonya.
Yeah,
Maybe you're predicting something.
yeah, yeah.
Maybe I'll start writing series like you, great series. But no, I haven't given much thought to that. I think that would be nice if eventually I could write something connected to this book again. The second novel, which is now with my editor, and I'm still waiting to hear back whether she likes it, whether we should move forward with it. It is also magical realism. It's not set in Africa. I take it to a different the setting is different. I take it to a different continent this time. But yeah, so I don't know, but maybe.
Yeah. And what I really like too is we don't see I mainly read realistic fiction in middle grade,
Okay.
but I don't see a lot of books with the magic and the fantasy that feature these diverse characters like this. So
Yeah.
that's really interesting and cool to see for me.
I 100% agree. And like I said, that is why I wanted to write this story, is because I didn't find, many books that, were of that genre. And so I said, well, I'll write something like that. Yeah, and it became something much bigger because as I started writing, I realized that I was really writing about my experiences with grief in early childhood. And so my aim at some point shifted where I said, well, I want this book to be for children who have experienced some kind of loss. For me, losing my home country, losing my sense of belonging at periods, and at periods losing my sense of identity. And I know it's really tough on children, especially when you move from one country to another, or even switching schools. Something like that can be a traumatic experience for children. And so I really wanted this book um, to resonate with them, and so that they know that it is an isolating experience, or can feel like an isolating experience when you're grieving as a child, because sometimes you don't even know you're grieving, right? Or unless there's someone there to tell you like this is what's happening and to help you process what's going on, it can feel very isolating. And so in my way, this book was my way to reach out to them and connect with them and say, hey, you're not alone. Other people have experienced this, and there's a light at the end of all of it. So
Right. And they can just connect in so many ways with experiences that all children have.
absolutely,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. And then your background is so rich because you've had so many experiences in all these different countries. Do you think you might write about things in the Netherlands or other different places or?
Definitely. I would love to. 100%. Yes. Yeah,
Yeah.
I hope so. To write about the Netherlands, the United States, you know. I feel like I'm a blend of African, American, European. I'm all of those things, right? I like eating fufu and soup, which is a key dish in Liberia. But I also like Gouda cheese, which is
Oh.
popular in the Netherlands. And, you know, I love my Southern foods. So I'm
Right.
all of those things.
Yeah, so that's very, your
You
background
do.
is just
You
so
have a
interesting.
rich background too, Tanya, right?
Well, I was born and raised in Kentucky, and
Okay.
I've lived in many different places. So when I did in college, I lived in Europe for a year.
Oh, wow.
I lived in Strasbourg, France, and
Okay.
London. So I've lived in some different places.
Yeah, that's what I remember reading that on your bio. I was like, wow, she's traveled to many different places. And now, does that influence your writing at all?
I'm sure it does. I haven't written, I would like to write something with some kind of international elements in the stories.
Yeah.
And I do, my series, my little Sophie Washington series is based in Texas, but they do go to Costa Rica. And they're very diverse and they have a multicultural cast of characters in the book.
Okay. Okay.
So yeah, maybe that does, I'm sure it does influence me, definitely.
I'm sure. Okay.
But yeah. But so let's see. So what are your next plans? Where do you see yourself moving, or what are you envisioning for your career as an author?
Well, I mean, I hope to continue doing this because it's a joy for me to write and tell stories. Like I said, it is a dream. This is what I want to do and would love to continue doing. Um, Someone invited me the other day to come to a book club and to talk to them about the book and write some discussion questions. And I was like, wow, this is great. This is exactly what I want to do because, you know, I want to talk to the kids and, you know, these types of conversations make the book more meaningful. And
Mm.
so I would love to have the opportunity to do more of that, to connect with the kids face to face, the readers. So definitely something like that. And, you know, I don't know, I hope this book will turn into something bigger. Like I said, I really wanted to impact children suffering from some sort of loss, Tonya. So I hope it would impact them in some big way. I don't know what that could look like, but
And really, when you think about discussion with your book, a lot of our children have had loss even with the pandemic, and
yes,
there's so much that they've had to lose or give up. So there's a lot of ways this
absolutely.
can impact kids.
Absolutely. And I think often when we think about loss, we think about someone dying, but it could be something small. It could be just, I don't know, just, you know, like you said, with children have the pandemic, someone having to attend school virtually instead of in person. And I miss my friends, I miss my connections. And that's
Mhm.
not a small thing, that's actually a big thing. But yeah, and we may not think to talk to them about, you know, you might be grieving, you know, that in-person experience, right? We
Mhm.
might think of it as, oh, no one died, you're fine. But
Right.
you know, but it doesn't mean that the child isn't grieving inside. So,
Right. Now we have a lot of authors and aspiring authors that listen and are
okay.
tuning into the show. What
Huh.
advice would you have for them? I noticed you really have overcome your adversity. You've had times where they rejected what you did, but you seem
Yeah,
to keep on and persevere. Or what kind of
definitely.
advice would you have for people wanting to write their own books?
Thank you for that question. I love that question so much. I've always wanted someone to ask me that question, and you're the first. So finally, I get to answer it. But I would say read and write. Um, Read and write, read and write, read and write. And I know you probably hear this all the time because I heard it myself too. But the reading part is really important. In fact, my husband just the other day, maybe 2 days ago, he said, "Hey, how was your day?" And I said, Yeah, I read on the deck, I read this book on the deck, and I felt guilty saying that because I was like, wow, my husband's in the office, and here I am saying, like, I read on the deck and nice sunshine, right? He's like, well, you're not working at all. But for it's actually part of my work, just like he does spreadsheets, like I have to read. That's my professional development or a form of professional development. So I think as writers, we have to think of reading as work that we're doing. It is leisure, but sometimes it's leisure, but it is very much work that we have to do. um, and so even be intentional about it, maybe set a daily quota for reading. And that's something I had to do. Having kids, you get distracted. You have so many things to keep up with. But at some point I said, okay, I must read 30 pages a day. And then I moved it up to 50 pages a day. And now I'm trying to do 100. I don't always make it work, but sometimes I wake up at 5 in the morning and I'm trying to make up for it, you know, yesterday or the day before because I didn't make my quota. But and so read and write, I would say develop a ton of patience. You will
Yes.
need it. I wrote this book a long time ago and it's just now getting published. So you have to be very patient throughout the process. There are things that are happening behind the scenes that you won't know. And you just have to trust that people are doing the best for you behind the scenes, even if you don't have that information. So trust is very, very important. Um, I think also do not be discouraged because I think positivity helps. So I think even if you get a no, you saw I got a no, or and I also got a yes, send me your manuscript, but then I didn't hear back. But that experience for me did not discourage me. In fact, it encouraged me because I said, if she liked it enough to say, send me the full manuscript, right? That means I have something, I have some talent, so
Mhm.
let me write The Leopard Behind the Moon. So just keep going, don't get discouraged. And yes, I think those three things. I feel like I wrote a lot more things down, Tonya, and when we get off this call, I'll say, man, I should have said this and that and that. But I think for now, that's good.
Yeah, and those are good things, and that's what I've always been told. And I do read a lot. And one
Okay.
author, Linda Sue Parks, she said read at least one middle grade book a week
Oh my
if
gosh.
you're
Okay.
middle
That's good.
grade
That's good
author.
advice.
Yeah, and that really stuck with me. But yeah, those are great, especially and then the patience with
Yeah.
the literary life is it's all about hurry up and wait.
Yeah. I agree. You have to, if you write middle grade, you should read middle grade, right? And Sarah Megabo says that. She says, read what you write. At least she told me, she said you should read middle grade books.
Hmm.
And I think I took that advice for granted a little bit. Yes, I would read middle grade books, but not as much, right? But the other day I went on a play date with a friend, and her daughter is in middle school. And when she found out that I have a book coming out, she was so excited, and she said, "Oh my God!" She was telling me that she goes to the library 3 times a day in her school, and I said, "Why do you go to the library 3 times a day?" And she said, well, I borrow a book and then I read it and then I finish it and then I go back and then I read it and then I finish it and I go back. She reads that much, just this
Oh,
middle schooler. And I said, well, what do you read? And she started telling me about all of these different middle grade books, right? And some of them I didn't know. So I came home and I ordered them because I said, I need to know what my target audience is reading, right? And so I think just
right,
to be able to connect with your readers and speak the same language that they do, you really should read what you write. So
right.
Sarah was very much right, and so I have a ton of middle grade books here now. Some of them are in boxes. I just got a big box yesterday, and so it's overwhelming the amount of content that we have to read because
I
there's
know.
so many great books. I'm telling you,
Okay.
so
It's
I
always
just
yeah.
ordered your series this week, so I'll be
Oh,
reading that
thank
too. I
you.
can't wait to read it. It looks so good, so I'm excited, and I'm
Okay.
excited to read it to my kids too.
Okay. Well, thank you. I appreciate it. Well, I'm excited to have you here. And when is your book officially coming out? It's not out yet, is it?
It's out on Tuesday, September
Oh,
21st.
okay.
Yeah.
That's why I felt like, yay, I got it before everybody else can get it. So,
did you get a copy? You have special connections.
Yeah. Yeah.
Speaking of special connections, congratulations too on getting signed with Sarah Megabo. She's wonderful. So big, big, big
Thank
congratulations on
you.
that,
Thank you so
Tonya.
much. I'm so happy. I'm so happy to be working with her. So far, it's been wonderful. And she's so positive and full of
Oh my
energy.
gosh.
I know. And that
She's
really helps in this process because it's really a lot of waiting and a lot of,
absolutely,
yeah.
absolutely. You're so right. Her positivity is amazing. And I always say she's not just a great agent, she's just a great human being. So,
Yeah, she's very sweet. So I feel very
yeah.
fortunate to be part of her team. And
Yeah,
happy to meet
congratulations.
you and get to
Nice to
be
meet you too
meeting you there.
in person.
So where can people connect with you outside of,
So, yeah, no, finish your statement. I'm sorry.
I mean, outside of watching you here on the interview, where can they connect with you?
So I'm on Twitter, and I feel like I'm just now getting the hang of Twitter. So I'm like, oh yeah, okay, this is what it's really about. I think I just joined maybe a year or so ago, but my handle there is at Mayonn Mayon, and then Valchev Valchev. And then I just signed on to Instagram for this show. I think I'm like a week or a week and a half in, so I don't know how to navigate it. I'm just like, what? The other day someone tagged me and I just discovered it, like, I think 5 days ago they tagged me and I just discovered. I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't even know what this is. I don't know what the icons are. So I'm just happy that I was even able to join your live show.
Right.
But
Yeah.
but I'm on Instagram too under the exact same handle at Mayonn Paaswee-Valchev, and then my website is mayonn.com, and I've been posting events, and as people invite me to different things, I'm updating my events page. So
Okay. Well, follow her on her website for all the events leading up to the release of this wonderful book. Buy the book. Where can they get your book?
so they can get my book at Target, Walmart, Barnes and Nobles. It's also will be available on Audible. And then if you're in the Atlanta area, there's a wonderful bookstore that's called Little Shop of Stories. You can get it there. Um, and I think I'm missing a couple places, but it's all on my website.
Right. Okay. Well,
Yeah.
check out her website and please support her. And thank you so
Thank you,
much,
Tonya.
Mayonn. Yeah.
Thank you so much. I so appreciate you doing this. Thank you for inviting me. This was
All right. All right. Thanks everybody for joining us and see you next
bye.
time. Bye-bye.
See you next time. Bye.